Hey everybody, KMO here, and I'm going to have a guest artist on today. I'm going to be drawing the whole time, but somebody else will be here and talking and drawing, and I have sent him a heads up as to what I'm going to be working on. I am going to be working on what's called a Draw This in Your Style, or what are the initials? DTIYS challenge. So here's the challenge. This is from, I think, a Russian artist named Anastasia in Red, and it is draw this. She calls it a Krampus in your style. So that's what I'm going to be working on. And I'm going to cheat, and I'm just going to grab colors right off of this one. Alrighty. But first, as usual, just a quick warm-up. This time it will be quick. Oh, this is Clip Studio Paint. I want to launch Fresco. All right, so we'll take Clip Studio. We'll just minimize it for now. And Fresco, we will bring over here. Meow. Alrighty. So, meow, meow, meow. Actually, here, one thing I want to do is grab some photo reference for the DIY challenge, or DIY, draw this in your style challenge. Oh, la 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 la. Let's see. Go to YouTube. Okay. All right, not that one, not that one, this one. Oh, I don't know, maybe that one. Nah, this one.
I've been on Noom for 4 months. I've lost 27 pounds.
Hush. Hush, you. All right, so what I'm going to do here is just grab a few screenshots. And that can go away. All right. Definitely need the tongue out for this long-tongued creature. Oh, missed it. All right. There's a nice little tongue folding there that I missed that I want to get. Let's try again. That one. All right, that's going to come in handy later. For now, put that away. And back to Fresco. There we are. Meow. What? All right. Yes, the cat hears me speaking to you, and she must get in on it. Get in on it. Gotta have her say. All right, Scott's going to come in at the half-hour mark, so for the first half hour, it's just me. And, oh, I need to get a chat window open. Let's get that going. so I can see what's happening on the YouTube. All right. Greetings. And now I need to put this over on the other screen so I can monitor it. And let us get to the drawing. Mocha, what? Let's go back to sleep, sweetheart. First, Dow at 30,000. What do you make of that, First? What do you make of the Dow at 30 grand, 30K? Ignore labor, everything is peachy. Well, of course. President-elect Biden is coming to the rescue. We'll have a new foreign military adventure any minute now. If Ed were here, I'd ask him, well, maybe you know, are there any defense contractor index funds? It just shows the general state of optimism or pessimism for people who make money on war. Because they should be very happy right about now. There's good war coming our way. Gonna invade. I mean, the big prize is Venezuela. I don't know if they're going to have the guts to reach for that brass ring right away. We'll probably get, you know, just increased involvement in Syria and Yemen probably. But Venezuela is the one they really want to go for. Hey, here's Ed. Let me look that up for you. Thank you, Ed. That would be awesome. So first, it is 11 o'clock in the morning for you. I was always impressed when you would chime in at what was probably like 6:30 a.m. for you. Are you an early riser? All right, here's my standard patented swirly rake background. Let's get a foreground layer going in pink or something like pink. All right. Let's keep up with this. No. Cancel. You know what? It's just a pain in the butt. Let's do it a different way. Nope. Not like that. Close that. There we go. Right. iShares, U.S. Aerospace and Defense ETF. And how's it doing, Ed? How is it over like the last 3 months? How was it before the election? How is it now? Up 3% today. Wow, right on. But where was it 3 months ago? Where was it 2 months ago? All right. It was 1:49 on October 28th. And what is it today? And it's 191 today. All right. It soared to 191 in the election results. Yep. That's right. People who make money from war are very happy about a Biden-Harris administration. Good going. Good stuff for them. And, you know, it's only poor people who are going to get drafted because we don't have a draft. We have an economic draft. Only poor people serve. Or, you know, fanatics. There are some. There are some people who could go and live a very normal, safe life and who choose to go and serve their country instead. Weirdos. All right. What else we got here? Sigma 6 Sigma 6. Tell me about Summertown, Tennessee. Summertown, Tennessee is a small town. It is about an hour and a half south, hour and a half drive, of course, south of Nashville, Tennessee. It is close to Hohenwald and what's the one? Lawrenceburg. And what's the one at the movie theater? It's been a while since I've lived there. I'm starting to forget the lay of the land. But a weird thing about Summertown, Tennessee, other than the fact that the farm is there, is that out in the woods you'll find all kinds of weird characters. Like just all manner of people. Like people I would not expect to find in the backwoods of very rural Tennessee. All right, let's... What do you ask, 6 Sigma 6? The Eco Village Training Sound is in Summertown, Tennessee. The farm is in Summertown, Tennessee, and the Eco Village Training Center is on the farm. It was a good pit stop for KMO during a specific period in his life. I agree, Ed. Would you move there again? Probably not. Depends on the internet situation. Internet was always garbage on the farm, or particularly at the Eco Village Training Center because it's down in a hollow. And I was always driving 30 miles to upload, you know, a 50 megabyte podcast. Let's see. So this is a practice image for the Draw this in your style challenge that I'll be doing as soon as the guest shows up. Today we're going to have two artists. Scott Maurer is going to call in on a Zoom call, and he is going to be drawing. So we'll have him share his screen from time to time, and then we'll pop back over here and see what my drawing is looking like. That's all depending on his internet connection, though. His might be a problem. All right, so for folks who are just coming in, let me show you what I'll be drawing later. Oops. Let's see. There. Okay, so later on, I'm going to be drawing this creature. Kind of Betty Page with demon horns. I would have called this a tiefling, but the original artist calls it a Krampus. Draw my Krampus girl in your own unique style using any materials. You can also embroider it, sculpt it, cosplay it, etc. Well, I'm just going to draw it. I'm just going to draw it. Oh, she's kind of got like, not elf ears, but more like donkey ears. Anyway, let's go back to the chat. Ed says, KMO, what is your opinion of epistocracy as a way of choosing leaders? Like who knows the most? Or who has the best epistemological heuristic? I don't know what you mean by epistocracy, Ed. Although, Ed, you can be my press secretary. He would not move there again because he has moved on to other projects. Exactly. What Ed said. All right, let us move this guy back over to the other screen. Hey, and by the way, here's me. This guy. You knew that. Wearing a hat because, well, it's COVID hair, you know. There's a lot of it. It's not doing what I want it to do. And it is kind of chilly. Let's see. Yes, if you know more, your vote has more weight. Yes, you know more. If you know more, your vote has more weight. So, like, people have to pass a literacy test at the polls to determine the number of votes that they get, or the weight that their vote should be, the weight their vote should be considered to have. Like, if you have served a full tour in the military and discharged with honors, your vote is worth 1.5. Ah, kind of like the Starship Troopers approach. Only veterans are citizens, or at least citizens with a full franchise. All right, where is... There we are. Wrong screen. There. Okay. So, here, let's just merge these two layers. Keep stuff from getting out of control. And let's just start drawing on top of that. Come on. Oh, horns. She's got like Betty Page bangs, as I recall. And the ears were more like that. Oh, Les is here. Hey, Les. I changed the tires on my car today from summer to winter. Ah. Last winter, I changed my car from being my car to being somebody else's car. And now, snow tires are their problem. My problem is mobility, which is much diminished since this time last year. All right, how about a different mouth? How about something more? Well, let's bring in some of our screenshots. Toward the end of the month here. Oh, darn it. So my screenshots are double screenshots, but let's see, I think. Try that one. Yeah. So done. Over to pixels. Not like that. Weird, what's going on? All right, let's try it a different way. All right, then she has a very long tongue. Oops. No, don't like those. Too hard. All right, I've been looking away for a long time. What do we got? What do we got? Oh, wow. We're going to hit 100 comments really quick today, aren't we? Let's see. So, in answer to your question, Ed, what do I think about people's, the votes being weighted differently depending on how much they know? Who determines which knowledge is essential for voters? I don't know. It just seems rife for abuse. In general, I just say, let the godlike AI take over entirely. I'm half joking there. So, Ed says, Les, I changed the tires on my car today from summer to winter. Oh, I thought that was Les who said that. Les says, nice. What do you drive? Rodney says, Olo. Hello, Rodney. I bought a Lexus CT 200H to drive. Lost it. Where'd it go? There we are. I bought a CT 200H to drive under Uber Select, which is a more premium service. Just so you know, the video went black for like the last 15 minutes yesterday. Hence my comment that KMO is gone and when will he be back? I realized later that I was the only one with this glitch. I had a restless sleep last night wondering about that, Les. Good to know. Why'd you choose a Lexus? It was affordable, luxurious, reliable hybrid vehicle. I used to drive a Lexus RX 300. Best vehicle I ever drove. Les says, and audio feed from KMO shut down too. I only thought I was talking to you, Ed. I have a feeling a lot of what we say here gets lost in translation. It looks okay. It looks like a Velostar. You must adapt an it is what it is attitude. I hate people that say that. Well, you don't hate Ed. Come on. Ed says, my dream car is a Lexus LC500. My dream car is one that it just shows up when I need to go someplace, and it goes away when I don't need to be transported anymore, and I just don't worry about it thereafter. You must not hate. Hate will turn you into a curmudgeon and a codger. The Lexus LC500 is ugly. I have no idea what that looks like. But maybe it would grow on me. Rodney, you. Lesick says, nah, Ed, hate is a useful and natural feeling. It just must not be overused and reserved for special occasions. All right. That said, layer in here. So tongues. Tongues are a very light, sort of pinkish color, I guess. Kind of like that. Oh, it's more orange. All right, what else? What else we got going on here? Oh, nothing. I'm caught up in the chat. Right on. All righty. Let's see, something more like that, but a bit less saturated and a little darker. There we go.
All right, looks like we are connected.
Hey, hey, it is Scott.
How you doing?
I am doing well. I'm well. Can you see what I'm drawing?
Yeah, I was wondering how we were going to do the hookup. So basically, to get the whole thing, what I would need to be doing is watching the live stream on YouTube while also being on the Zoom call, right?
Yep, and also having an art program open somewhere. It's all very complicated.
Yeah, well, I'm going to try getting the live stream going at the same time. I have the feeling that my limited bandwidth is not going to be able to handle all this with video, but let's at least get the parts put together here and see what happens.
Okay. So, I guess I should ask the folks in the chat, can everybody hear Scott okay? And there's quite a delay there, so I don't expect them to answer for like a minute.
Okay.
And this is just a warm-up, actually. This isn't the thing I was going to be drawing today. This is me just waiting for you to show up. You saw the challenge, though.
Okay.
The Draw This in Your Styles challenge.
I did, yeah. The female frump was pretty great.
Yeah. You know, when I saw that, I thought that was a tiefling, but I was surprised to see Krampus, or however you pronounce that. Are you a D&D player?
I have in the past. I have not done it for a long time, but I'm pretty.
Is tiefling a familiar word for you?
Vaguely.
They're like humans with demonic lineage.
Right. Yes, I believe they have been involved in several discussions I've had with some of my friends recently.
All right.
Okay, so.
What program will you be drawing in?
Affinity Designer is the program that I use most often.
Ah.
It is a combination of, it's mostly a vector design program, but it also has some raster features and some publishing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I have been very tempted by Clip Studio Paint that you use, but so far I have not been willing to pay the subscription price. And also after Inktober, I'm just like so done with learning new art programs that I need a break for a while before I pick anything else up.
So I just purchased Clip Studio Paint outright. I don't pay a subscription fee for it.
Okay. Yeah, you got it. You got it for PC, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you a Mac person? We talking across that divide?
Yeah, so my main computer is a Mac, and my my iPad, which is what I do most of my drawing on, is a Mac. I use an Android phone, so I'm not a complete partisan.
Okay. Well, you know, I'm dating a Mac person. I can hang.
Yeah. All right. That's good. You build up your tolerance a little bit.
Yeah.
So did you keep your iPad, or did you get rid of it when you got the new drawing tablet?
I still have it.
Okay. Ever since standardizing on, I have like a normal like 10-inch iPad that I got recently for my switchover, and at that time I was cranky that I was giving up the mini because the mini is so portable and easy to carry around and stuff. But now that I am doing artwork more often on it, I really wish I had gotten a Pro with a bigger screen.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've got a Microsoft Surface Pro. I ordered a Surface Pro 7 twice, and they sent me a Surface Pro 5 twice. So I have a Surface Pro 5, and it's it's the same size, I guess, as a iPad Pro. And I thought I'd be drawing on it a lot, and I almost never draw on it because at the same time I bought that, I also bought a 22-inch Cintiq. And for me, the Surface Pro or iPad Pro is just too small a drawing surface. Oh yes, you'll need to mute the live stream on YouTube. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a complicated procedure.
It took this long for me to even get to the live stream. So I'm not representing my general technical competence very well here.
Well, you're not that much younger than me. You're not really embarrassing yourself.
All right. Let's see.
Okay. Are you Gen X or Millennial? Or Zennial?
I can see the live stream. I can see the drawing, and we're still talking on Zoom.
All right.
So
now the real
looks
test
pretty
is
good.
fire up your art program and we'll try the screen share.
If I'm going to do that, I'm going to have to get out of the call and come back, because right now I'm talking to you from my computer, but I draw on my iPad.
Ah.
So I tell you what, if you're game, we'll try it, and if we can't figure it out in about 5 or 10 minutes, then I'll quit and we'll just do voice chat while.
Okay, fair enough.
Does that sound worth it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll sign off here and I'll try to come back from my iPad. I'll be back.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right, and I have missed what's going on in the chat here. A few of my, let's see. Yes, Scott is clear and loud. Thank you, Les. Would you like me to come and visit you? Ed asks of Les. No, I'm busy today, Ed. By the way, the Lexus LC500 looks like the car version of a Bull Terrier. Interesting. Would you like to meet up for a Cyprus vacation one day? Ooh. Alrighty. Weird. So I'm trying to draw the lasso over here by her eye, and it's drawing it way over on the other side of the screen. I don't get what's going on there. Oh well. Might be time to move this over to Clip Studio Paint anyway. All right. Let's hide that layer. And let's see what this looks like as a speed drawing. All right, what else we got? Sure, never been to Cyprus. Make sure to bring Jadzia along too. Will do. She will interview me for a psychology course today. Ooh, this afternoon. Interesting. Will she be diagnosing you? Scott says, I'm getting Zoom for my iPad. You know, this quick draw, it shows stroke for stroke the early stuff, and then, you know, it gets to a certain place, and then bang, it's just done. I don't like that. All right, well, anyway, let's export that. We'll say time lapse, practice, Krampus. All right. Scott Maurer, you have a good audio voice. So, this character, let's see, I'm just going to put Fresco to sleep for now. All right, now, don't I look more like an artist with my my tight cap on? Just need to get the stuff that hangs out from under it cut off. All right. So now, let's see if I do this. And then put the Krampus character underneath. No, that's not going to work. Let's go back to that. And okay, I have a plan. Here's my plan. First, back to, can I just download it? Save as. Now I want to save the image, not the web page. And it's offering to save the web page. All right. So let's just screenshot it. All right. So now, put this window back where it belongs. And show the chat again. Bring up Clip Studio Paint. And we're just going to open that. It's a separate document, and let's make it real big. Okay, so this doesn't have to be a slavish reproduction. So the pose doesn't have to be identical. Nothing has to be identical. All right. Let's pop back over here. Oh, but one thing I am going to do is I'm just going to steal some colors directly.
Okay, so I'm back on my iPad now.
All right.
Would like to not be more backlit, but I probably won't be here and I can't turn off the sun. So
you can't turn off the sun?
Well, there would be side effects.
Yeah.
Side effects that people have complained about in the past. So
there's a video that YouTube wants me to watch repeatedly because I've already seen it, but they keep, offering it to me, and it's what would happen if the sun were replaced with a black hole? And the assumption being a black hole of identical mass to the sun, so that it's not going to disturb any orbits, but we would freeze to death. All life on Earth, or most life on Earth, would be extinguished.
That net photon output would drastically reverse.
Yeah, it would drop to like less than zero. But still, geothermal vents under the ocean would keep pumping out the heat and the nutrients, and there would still be some life down there for quite some time. But on the surface, slim pickings.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now that I have this set up, let me try doing the screen share thing, and we'll see what happens.
All right, which means I need to find the Zoom call.
Oh, and enable my ability to do that.
Let's see.
I think I saw the option on there, but I haven't actually tried to set anything up to share yet. So I was going to jump off and go make sure that, like, not necessarily leave the call, but switch apps and see.
Well, do you see a share screen option? It should be green near the bottom.
Yes.
Try that.
Yeah. It says only the host can share in this meeting.
All right. So I need to adjust that.
Okay.
How do I do it?
And I can share my Zoom screen and we can get the infinity effect.
That's amusing for like 3 seconds.
Yes.
All right.
Afterwards it becomes highly nauseating.
Well, tell you what.
Yeah,
I'm going to put great faith in you right now. I'm making you the host. You're now the host of this call.
All right. Appreciate the trust. Okay, I'm going to go check to make sure that the correct app is running and stuff, and there's nothing else really embarrassing up, and then I will come back and hit the button to share. All right.
That's very wise.
Let's see. Thanks. Okay, I can still hear you, which is good. Um,
240p? Who ever heard of such a thing? Ed, how's the video quality for you? All right, what a complicated setup we got going here.
Yeah, well, if we get it dialed in, it'll probably be fine. Yeah. I'm really shocked that my internet's working well enough to even try to do this. As usual, it is terrible with tantalizing improvements on the horizon.
Yeah, someday we'll have what is it? Starlink all over the globe except North Korea.
Yeah, Starlink is one of the things that it may be available here as early as January, and that would be a very big help because we live on exactly the kind of property where it's useful to have it.
Starlink would be a boon to the folks at the Eco Village Training Center, I think.
Oh yeah, anywhere out in the boonies for sure.
Okay. Ed says video quality is more than adequate. So, time to share your screen.
All right, I got. Let's see, that was good.
I'm going for more coffee.
Okay, I got Infinity Designer up, so now I'm going to switch back to Zoom and try turning the screen sharing on, and we'll see what happens. Let's see, where is Zoom? Huh.
All right, Scott. Well, you work on that.
Okay.
I am going to move the Zoom meeting back over to my other screen so that folks watching will see my drawing surface again.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm on the Zoom. I'm on the screen broadcasting, and it's only giving me a limited number of options, none of which are the one I want. But I'm gonna.
Let's see. Okay, just generally like that. So
let's see. Okay, are you able to see anything?
No.
Of mine?
Just your name.
Okay. Let's see. Oops. Okay.
Ah, now I see something.
Okay.
I see screen broadcast.
Good deal. And okay, do you see this now?
Yes. So let me throw that on the other screen so folks can see that. That's not what I accomplished. Let's try that again. Zoom. Come on. There we go. Okay, this is interesting. It doesn't take up very much of the frame. We are trained. Professionals, yes, indeed.
Okay.
How many S's in professionals?
Which is good.
So let me call up chat. Yes, He's in a yurt.
It is a movable yurt.
Yep.
It has not been moved in quite some time when I decided to move into it full time, but it has been on the road to the West Coast several times, which is where KMO got to see it in person.
Yeah, I saw it in Oregon. Alrighty, so folks in the chat, what do you see on screen right now? Living on a boat on a river in Paris. That's not the least bit romantic.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, so KMO, looking at the YouTube screen, I just see my name. On the side, I don't see my screen.
Huh. Well, it could be that it hasn't caught up yet. Yeah. Ed says, I see we are trained professionals. Ed, how much of the screen does it take up? And the child Jedi in the background, yes. Jedi there being plural. The Jedi younglings. But that's important. That means that your screen is not full screen. Can I move it? Nope.
I see a video of me. Yeah, I saw a video of me poking around on the screen when I wasn't poking around on the screen. So your theory about it being delayed might be the case.
All right. So the question is now, how can I draw with you drawing at the same time?
I don't know. Well, if it turns out that we can't both draw at the same time on the screen, then that's okay. I figured it was worth a try, and maybe there's the way to pull it off, but we also don't want to spend the entire chat trying to view tech support.
Right. So there's an app that you informed me of that lets multiple people draw on a document at once from remote locations.
Yes. It is called Aggie.io. It is a website. It has support for a surprisingly large number of Photoshop-like features, but it is still pretty spare compared to Photoshop. But it does support, pressure sensitivity and a lot of adjustable brushes and erasers and layers and blending modes and all that type of stuff.
Nice.
I will be using it later on tonight. We have an event called Come Draw, originally Come Draw ATX for Austin, Texas. It has now kind of gone global, so we don't call it that anymore. But we use that every Tuesday from about 8 p.m. Central till, whenever the last of us can't stay awake anymore.
That would be pretty late for me.
Yeah. And we do have some people start earlier, because we actually have one person who calls in from England. So for her, it's like, the middle of the night.
So have you started drawing? Because I'm still just seeing we are trained professionals.
I haven't done anything else. I just was trying to see if anything else had shown up on the YouTube thing. Let's see.
Please don't try this at home.
Okay, so you're able to see that.
Yes.
But looking at the live stream,
it's delayed.
Well, it's not showing up. I don't see it any place at all on mine.
Ed does.
Okay, yeah. Now I see it. Now I see the younglings. I don't think that you. Okay. Now I can see it.
So I think I'm going to charge my Apple Pencil, and if we can't both draw at the same time, I will be drawing on my iPad while you draw there.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like the video is delayed by, it's just now highlighting we are trained professionals. Okay, but it seems like we're able to hear each other.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so the Apple Pencil, which I have not used in many weeks, I'm charging, so I'll be able to draw as well. Just folks won't see it.
Okay, I have heard that it is not a good idea to let them sit for long periods of time without charging them. That it can hurt the batteries.
So the big problem I'm seeing right now is that your drawing surface takes up like a fifth of my screen. There's a raging debate in the chat about whether it's a quarter or a fifth.
Well, I'm happy to surrender the drawing space if that would make things easier.
Well,
we could also periodically switch off or something if you'd like.
Okay. Well, go ahead and rough something in right quick, just so folks can see an image appear. Yeah.
What were you asking me?
I would say just wipe away the "We are trained professionals. Please don't try this at home," and just start drawing.
Okay, I will do that.
Let's see. Ah.
All right.
Oh, that's disgusting. Right out of the gate. Please continue. That's disgusting. Please continue.
I'm using a vector program here, which, among other things, definitely amounts to cheating. So.
Oh, Clip Studio Paint has both raster and vector layers. I usually ink on vector layers.
That. That's one of the reasons that I was intrigued by it. Because at the moment, the vector stuff is definitely what I'm mostly training on.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to be able to do both.
So I should monitor the chat. Let me do that. In a generation or two, it'll be, I'm charging. What a dimension. What a dimension. Says Les. Ed says, we want to see drawing, not cursive writing. All right, well, I anticipated your needs there. We're on to the drawing. Oh, wow, you do it the hard way. No sketch layer, just going for it.
I'm definitely, I'm used to drawing live a little bit with CumDraw, but this is definitely more pressure than I'm usually under, so. I also got some kind of stressful news immediately before starting the call, and it's not bothering me too much, but it's definitely a little more distracting than I would normally be.
Well, as far as I can tell, it's just Ed and Les in the chat now, and they're more here to argue with one another about nothing in particular than watch drawing, so.
Okay, that's good.
Don't worry too much about it. Les says it's multiplayer.
Well, the pressure is definitely as much of a feature as it is a bug. I tend to have too many interests and not enough time. And so anything that gets me to stay focused on something long enough to make some improvement is good.
Yeah.
And I used to draw quite a bit when I was like in junior high and high school, and I got out of it when I was in college. But just doing the Come Draw thing once a week over the course of several years has led to like a drastic improvement in my ability to draw.
Now,
may or may not eventually be in evidence here,
but when you were changing the name of the Come Draw ATX, that would have been the time to remove the word "come" entirely from that name. I'm really trying to hear "Come Draw" in the way that it's intended.
Right. Yeah, that's a different drawing group with a smaller audience.
Yeah, I don't know. It might have a much larger audience.
Well, we used to do it in person at a local coffee house.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures. You're basically passing around a piece of paper, everybody drawing on the same piece, right?
Yeah. So it was like lots of mixed feelings about the whole situation now, because it is actually really great to be able to draw, because we have people who used to be part of the group who left town. We have cool people coming in from like Britain and stuff like that now. And none of that would have been possible with the in-person. And of course we've like missed seeing each other, but it's pretty amazing to be able to do the remote drawing thing together. Because we can also do, like we can take cues from each other's colors. We can riff off of each other's ideas in real time. It's definitely a major upgrade in a lot of ways. And it's a little hard to imagine going back to like the little skinny sheet of paper at this point.
Yeah, so I don't know why. Like, what surface are you drawing on? Are you drawing on the iPad?
I'm drawing on the iPad with a pencil, yeah.
Huh.
A Gen 1 pencil.
I wonder why it's not full screen for all of us. Well, you don't need to worry about that. Let's see.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe...
At some point, if we want to put a little effort into like trying to track that down, we can do it. In the meantime, I'm going to keep just sort of roughing this out here. One of the things I like about Vector is the fact that you can just kind of like splatter a bunch of shapes down on the screen and then go back and like nitpick them into something that actually looks good. I have a controversial theory that if you're better at raster than you are at vector, it just means you haven't been doing vector long enough.
All right, well, I'm actually on YouTube now because Les was saying that I'm missing a bunch of the chat.
Okay, yeah. Do your thing.
Well,
I will proceed to make you look good.
Okay. Yeah, there are a lot of messages here that are not showing up in the Restream aggregation of the chat. I don't know what that's about. I'm charging my pencil. What a world, what a world. Oh, I see. I see. No, that was Ed who said that. Huh. Now Ed's challenging Les to a drawing contest.
All right.
Okay, Ed says, yesterday I made KMO renounce his USA citizenship. Did you catch that? No. Yesterday you suggested that and I declined, Ed. Definitely keeping my imperial citizenship. All right. Well, I have to say your vector drawing certainly takes shape faster than my approach does.
You just have to be willing to look really bad in public first. But I definitely find, in general, as an artist, the biggest challenge for me is to stop nitpicking and get on with it. And so, anything timed is helpful because it forces me to keep moving.
Yeah.
And every year I just about have an aneurysm when I'm doing Inktober.
I completely forgot about Inktober this year. But I was drawing every day anyway, and the purpose of Inktober for me is just to motivate me to draw, so it was unnecessary.
Yeah, I always have kind of an agenda about what I want to accomplish with Inktober because I just don't get that level of juice very often with the social support and everything, and so a lot of times I bias toward trying to make it educational and useful instead of fun. And it's not like I don't enjoy the challenge, because I do, but it also just means that October tends to be like a total stress ball.
Gotcha.
And it's worth it because what I get out of it is, consistently something that is really helpful. But my goal this year with Inktober was, so I wanted to learn to blur the line between vector and raster stuff, and I also wanted to basically make it, I wanted to do all of my work in a way that looked like it was done with basically ink media type stuff, like inks and pencil. And so what I did every day, or at least for each drawing, is I flipped a coin. And if it was heads, I drew it digitally, and if it was tails, I drew it by hand. But the goal was to make the two indistinguishable. And then the second goal that I had was that there would be some kind of through line from the first picture all the way to the last picture. And what I've wanted to do that I haven't put the tech together to do yet is at the end of the month, I wanted to put all 31 pictures on the screen and make a survey and have people basically guess which ones were digital and which ones were physical.
Oh.
And then have a big reveal to see how close people got. And part of the fun was how bad I was at it at the beginning,
So I found a way for you to draw and for me to draw simultaneously.
Oh, excellent.
Let's get back to the Restream chat. Hey, congratulations. You've received 100 messages today with Restream chat. Thank you to Ed and to Les for bickering over silly nonsense.
Good job.
Indeed. All right.
Okay.
All right. All right, she's got this bundle of sticks on her back. I don't know what that's about. Is that a Krampus thing? Can anybody drop some Krampus science on me?
Let's see, the sticks. It might be the container that's used to kidnap the children.
And I think it's bloody. Yeah, I see blood at the top.
Or it might be that the stick that's used to beat the bad children, right?
All right. To zoom in. Get some facial details in place here. And we're looking at the audience, at the viewer. Scott, have you been watching The Mandalorian?
I have.
So, this Friday, Ahsoka Tano, live action.
Yes, indeed. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. I'm a little nervous.
Well, I think that's, I think anything new in Star Wars justifies a little nervousness.
Yes, but, if anybody's going to screw it up, Dave Filoni has the right to screw it up because he invented the character. He shepherded her through 7 seasons of the Clone Wars.
Yeah. And I appreciate you getting me back onto that because when Clone Wars first came out, I watched like the first episode or two and I just wrote it off as being like childish garbage and didn't go back and watch it.
It took a little while to find its feet. I typically tell people who are new to it, just start with season 3.
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been good. That was good advice that I didn't take. But I have a tendency to like want to plow through, basically. So that's what I did, and so I watched all of Rebels. I watched all of the Clone Wars. I had a pretty like, nose level immersion in Star Wars there for a while because I like watched almost all of the old movies. And I read a whole bunch of books, and I watched those 2 series. And this was all shortly before The Mandalorian came out.
If you watch like 5 episodes of the Clone Wars and then you go and watch the prequel trilogy, it's really weird how compressed the movies are.
Yeah, I had a super sort of, acid trip experience because I think I had most recently watched the videos, and then I was reading the books about the Clone Wars at the same time that I rewatched the movies. So I was getting the same characters and the same actions from 3 different sources all within like a week from 3 different mediums.
Now, did you read the Ahsoka novel?
Yeah, I read the novelization of at least the prequels.
Well, there was one novel. It was just called Ahsoka, I think.
Oh no, that I have not read.
Yeah, I listened to the audiobook of it, and I would not recommend it. Unless you're just jonesing to hear Ashley Eckstein's voice, because she is the narrator.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, so far I've been really happy with The Mandalorian, and I was commenting the other day that one of the things I have gotten a little bit tired of is how ridiculously cartoonishly ineffective the stormtroopers are. like they've always been outclassed, but you know, the degree to which they've been relegated to only being a joke bothers me a little bit. You know, now the whole, you know, the scene in The Mandalorian with the bikers when they have Baby Yoda in the satchel, like that was one of the best things that's ever happened in Star Wars history, just because they were doing such a great job of mocking themselves. But overall, that's been one of my few complaints.
Yeah, particularly after that. Only Imperial stormtroopers are so precise. It's like, Obi-Wan, have you ever? I think you have an overly romantic notion of the stormtroopers. I think you're remembering the clone troopers. The new guys, not so precise.
Yeah, and that's, I think, one of the other reasons I'm dissatisfied with the stormtroopers is that they're basically like supposed to be descended from the clone troopers, but the clone troopers were clearly like much more powerful. Their armor could take like multiple hits frequently, and they would not be killed.
Well,
so
here's my spin on that. Stormtroopers are just human civilians. They're not bred for battle like the clones were, and it made sense to have a really effective army during the Clone War. And, Palpatine really was responsible for both the droid army and the clone army. And the droid army was always a joke. The regular battle droids are only good against going up against unarmed civilians. But they're destined to lose badly against the clone troopers. So they had to have a couple different varieties of actually effective droid soldiers. So they had the commandos and the super battle droids, for when you actually needed something to get done. But then at the end of the Clone War, immediately they just shut down the droid army. And from that point on, you don't really need an effective fighting force anymore. In fact, you don't really want one, because you don't want the clones, you don't want a clone-led rebellion. So better to get rid of the super competent clones at that point and replace them with, doofuses, because they don't really have anybody to fight. They're just, keeping civilians in line at that point.
Yeah, it seems pretty clear that that's the only thing they're good for. And that theory makes sense.
Yeah, a really effective fighting force would be a threat to the Emperor. And so again, you get the, you have a mostly ineffectual force, but every now and again you might need some good fighters. So you have your Death Troopers, or you have your Dark Troopers, or you have some special version of Stormtroopers which are actually a threat to your protagonists. And we saw the making of those actually effective troops in the most recent episode of The Mandalorian.
Yeah, at least some of the implication that that's what they were doing with their M counts and blood transfers. Let's see, where did that go? There we go. Trying to keep my reference on the screen here.
Good call.
I did read. I was reading some of the, post Emperor Admiral Thrawn books and later stuff, and one of those stories about the outbound flight, they had a troop of stormtroopers, and number one, they were multi-ethnic stormtroopers, because this was post Emperor, and Thrawn, because was not himself a racist and also was not himself human, but they had a whole troop of stormtroopers and their Imperial lieutenant commander, and they were they were in the city. They fought a lot. They did a lot of damage. They were very competent and dangerous, and there were very few casualties. So it was extremely novel, but also a breath of fresh air from my perspective. even if everything you say is true, it still sort of doesn't explain, like, it's like, why do they even wear armor if it's effective against almost every weapon that's ever come up against?
Yeah, if it's not even effective against like stone spearheads and bolos and sticks. It's like, really, at that point, the only purpose of the armor is to dehumanize the people.
By Ewoks, it's definitely time to go back and do little eval ones.
Yeah. All right, so there's a whole bunch of chat stuff that we have ignored for too long.
All right.
Ed says, we have a recording of you making the statement. Someday people, you have a recording of me reading your words, Ed. Someday people will lament the fall of the Empire. Yeah, I suspect so. Don't mention it, KMO. I wonder who can draw better, KMO or Scott? Well, that's a stir in the poo sort of question there. After the stream and the psychological assessment, of course. The last episode was really flat. It was boring. Most of the episodes are good, but every third or fourth are duds. Which soldier from what sci-fi universe is most overpowered? Ooh.
I mean, that's a broad question. Although one of the things that the Clone Wars made a good job of showing is just how ridiculously powerful the powerful Jedi are compared to everyone else.
Yeah. But they're not soldiers.
Well, that seems to be a matter of some debate in the Clone Wars universe. They didn't want to be.
Well, the Jedi were generally generals.
Yes.
All right.
That sounds like a...
Okay, so every different shape for you is its own entity, huh? It's its own layer and it can be moved independently, resized independently.
Yeah, so the way that Affinity, like I'm working entirely in vector right now. So basically every stroke that I make is a separate object and a separate layer. And it can have, a lot of stroke variables, including like width. In Designer, you can also do like, raster style brushes on your strokes. So for instance, you could take like a sketch outline of Ahsoka Tano, and you could change it to kind of like a sketchier pencil style just by selecting the whole thing and then changing the stroke style.
Oh.
And it supports full pressure sensitivity, but you can also go micromanage that on a per stroke basis if you want to. So I don't really know that necessarily the way I'm working now is the way that I usually work. But I'm kind of trying to just like bring something together as quickly as possible. So
the way I'm working now is not the way I usually work. It's sort of what I'm doing is a combination of what I normally do in Fresco and what I do in Clip Studio Paint. Like in Fresco.
So what is Fresco?
Fresco is an Adobe program. It's Adobe's answer to Procreate.
Ah, okay. I think I had heard about it recently, but I hadn't played with it.
I usually start in Fresco.
Yeah.
And once in a blue moon, I will import something that I started in Fresco into Clip Studio. I didn't do that in this instance. I just started again.
Yeah, it's a lot of the biggest frustrations are the lines between, the pieces of software. Like I've been wanting to play around a little bit with like simple frame animation stuff recently, and it's just hard to find one art program that does everything you want, like a missile package.
Right.
And I would say that at this point, I'm somewhat of a subject matter expert, at least on cross-platform stuff, because when I was trying to decide what I wanted to buy, I looked at 20 different apps and different platforms, and I do have an older copy of Clip Studio Paint that's installed on the Windows partition of my system that I have to reboot to get into. And the fact that it integrates vector and raster is definitely one of the hardest things to find is things that do that well. But Affinity Designer is basically like a much cleaner, more optimized version of Illustrator. Like Illustrator has always felt like kind of clunky, especially compared to a lot of other of Adobe's offerings. I'm also kind of trying to get away from Adobe. Like, I don't currently have a subscription, and somewhere along the line, I was trying to like upgrade my installation, and I screwed something up, and so basically, I have nothing by Adobe at this point except for the free stuff that works on mobile. So if you want to do like animation, it's kind of a pain because, it's like you're used to your drawing tools from whatever your favorite drawing program is, but maybe that one doesn't have any support for animation. So you don't get like onion skinning and things like that. And I'm sure I could set something like that up in Affinity Designer, with different like layers or something, but it would be a lot of work.
Last night I rewatched Cabin in the Woods. What a brilliant movie. And what a classic example of a studio not understanding that they have a brilliant movie on their hands and not knowing what to do with it.
I have not seen it.
Oh my goodness. You must. You absolutely must. Let's see. No, not like that. Oh well, close enough for now.
One of the things that is a problem with vector drawing, if you're not disciplined about it, is that, every single stroke you're making is a separate layer.
Hey, Paul's on the line. Paul D's here.
Ah.
And he says hello to you.
All right. Hey, Paul.
I'm going to catch up on the chat for a bit here.
All right. Yeah, and if you can call my attention to anything on the chat that people are asking me about, let me know and I'll jump on.
All right, so Les says, the last episode was really flat, talking of The Mandalorian. It was boring. Most of the episodes are good, but every third or fourth are duds. Which soldier from what sci-fi universe is most overpowered? Stormtroopers must be one of the least effective. Ed says, it is Martian Marines in Expanse universe. So yeah, we really only know one Martian Marine. At least I can only think of one. Her entire, fire team was wiped out by one of the mutant things. But, the one remaining, Gunny, no, what do they call her? Yeah, I think they call her Gunny. She's a badass. I didn't even think of them, but I'd beg to differ, says Les. Let's do this, Les, says Ed. I think that the Jedi and the Green Lanterns are derived from the same archetype. Well, I can't really speak to that, I'm afraid. I recently watched Green Lantern First Flight, says Ed, and the parallels were very, very apparent. How so, Ed? You have knights/police with a special powerful weapon, led by a council of wise men. Hey, KMO, sup, everyone, says Paul. Guided by an ancient code of conduct. Yo, Paul, says Ed. Sort of like the Knights of the Round Table. Sup, Paul? Yes, and the Samurai. Hey, Ed, hi, Les. Who is speaking with KMO? And Paul says, I thought so. Hey, Scott. Scott, do you have the yurt set up? If so, could you talk a little bit about your flooring? All right. Yes, Scott is live streaming from the yurt.
From the yurt.
What sort of floor do you have in there?
Okay, so the top layer of flooring is cork. Because my square footage is so small, it was easy to get, kind of like a leftover batch.
Mm-hmm.
I think I got it at Lumber Liquidators. It's pretty great in that it's like, I really like how it looks. It looks very natural. It is, if you take pretty good care of it, it's relatively strong, but it's also easy to like scratch and damage. It's waterproof for short periods of time, but if you let water sit, it can also pucker. So it has some of the bad qualities of like a cheap laminate, but it's better than those things. And it's also easier to fix.
Olga had a cork floor in her Manhattan kitchen. Not Manhattan.
Yeah.
Brooklyn. Brooklyn kitchen.
Brooklyn. Okay. Yeah. So it's I really like it. It has some insulation value, which is good. In Texas, you have to optimize for heat and not for cold, at least where I live. But it does get cold in the winter, and the fact that it has a little bit of insulation value is helpful. From the ground up, I have a platform that the yurt sits on that's made out of pressure treated wood.
Mm-hmm.
That platform is designed to come apart into no larger than a 4 foot by 4 foot section, so that it's easy to move. Which meant I had to sacrifice some strength, because there aren't actually like joists that run all the way across the platform from one side to another. And then on top of that, I have an OSB top, with oriented strand board, which is kind of like that cheaper plywood. And then I have in between I think it's a 3/4 inch piece of like Owens Corning foam insulation, like the solid stuff that's load bearing. And then I have another layer of OSB on top of that. And then on top of that is the cork.
Wow.
And building the platform was definitely one of the really big changes when I decided that I was going to move into this particular yurt full time.
What was the problem? Say that again. What was the problem? Did you say?
Oh, when I first moved into the yurt full time, building the platform was a really big deal. It was a huge commitment.
Gotcha.
Because previously the yurt had been on the ground wherever I had it. And, that's, you have to have relatively level ground to do it, but you don't have to do anything else. But the spot I have it in is also on a hill. And Texas is full of, scorpions and snakes and all kinds of other stuff. So you definitely would not want to live in a yurt in Texas that was touching the ground. It's just a bad idea. So the platform lifts the yurt up. The back part of the platform is dug in a little bit, and the front part is boosted up. And there are 16 they're jacks. They're used for leveling RVs. So they're, they look like an aluminum jack you would use for like boosting up your car, basically. But they're cheap. They hold an unbelievable amount of weight, like 1,600 pounds each or something like that. But the best thing about them is that it's very easy to micromanage how tall they are. So I dug into the ground, I leveled everything off as best I could. And then I put in road base and concrete blocks so that I didn't want to pour any concrete. Part of my goal here is to live lightly, basically, and make it so that I'm not doing a lot of damage or putting down anything permanent. So once I had those 16 pieces as leveled as I could, then I put these RV levelers on top of it, and I put the yurt frame on top of that. And so as things settle and move around, I can go under there, and all I have to do is rotate that little lever one way or another to adjust and keep things level. But it's also alive. And I've only done a major adjustment on it, I think, 2 times since I've lived here. And I think I've had the platform for about 4 years at this point. So it's been pretty successful. And also, I have the fewest scorpions of anyone in the property. They don't seem to like to crawl up those RV levelers. So I've only had maybe 3 or 4 in the whole time I've lived here. and most other people on the property have, a whole bunch per season.
All right. I complain about the Vermont climate from time to time, but we are 100% scorpion free here, which I do appreciate. All right. So I've stolen your thunder here visually for a bit.
No, that's fine.
All right. So, Paul, what do you think of that answer? Whose question was that, actually, about the floor? Oh, Ed asks, do you get mold problems with the cloth of the yurt?
Okay, so the short answer is yes. There is actually no cloth in my default setup. The yurt is covered with recycled billboard vinyl because it is cheap and easy to come by. I would actually like to have canvas walls eventually, but I want to be certain about the size and dimensions first because it is expensive. In Texas, sun is also really hard on materials.
Oh, I bet.
So the billboard vinyl is nice because I replace the walls like about every 3 years, and I might replace the roof every 2 years. But I can get for like $20, I can get enough recycled billboard vinyl to cover the entire wall or the entire roof. But ventilation is an issue, especially if it's the summer when you're air conditioning or the winter. Like when you have the yurt buttoned up, you basically never want it to be completely airtight. And it's been a little tricky to get, the perfect balance between the right level of climate control and making sure that the air gets cycled on a regular basis.
And Paul says, wow, your floor is better insulated than my house. I want to build a yurt. If I do, I will build a platform with 2x6s. Les asks a question with a very interesting and complicated answer. Does Scott have a girlfriend/wife? If not, he's got the best pickup line.
I live in a yurt.
I'm not sure. So anyway, you want to address the girlfriend-wife question?
Sure. Let me give some thought into shortening the answer here.
Yeah.
So I'm polyamorous. So I have had like multiple relationships for quite a long time. I've been that way for most of my dating life. I did get started late. Like I did not actually have my first girlfriend until I was in college at age 22, I think. I was super geeky as a child and in junior high and high school, and just super hopeless and very shy, very Aspergery. Just did not do a very good job of being able to relate to the opposite sex. Right now, I have one partner that I have been with for I want to say 12 years at this point. She lives 100 miles away, so it is somewhat of a long-distance relationship. We met at a Burning Man.
100 miles, amateur.
Yes. In Texas, I've had other longer ones, but we met at a Burning Man themed event in Texas called Flipside, so we've been together for a long time, and that's been a very successful relationship. She has 2 kids, and she has a very good co-parenting relationship with her ex-husband.
Nice.
And we all get along pretty well, which is cool. At the moment, I have not seen her in person basically since the COVID thing started.
Oh.
Yeah, because she is herself very high risk because she has fibromyalgia and some other autoimmune problems, and she also has several other people in her immediate network that are very high risk. And there has been some discussion about maybe doing like an outdoor distanced thing while the weather is still somewhat nice. I would be able to. I have a fully converted RV van that I could live in, so I could basically take it to town and stay over there overnight without having to go into her airspace. But that's been very stressful because we haven't been able to physically see each other for that long. And that's it, the risk management is definitely higher on her side, but she has a lot more to be concerned about. And then I have one other girlfriend, a partner currently. Her name is Danielle, and she lives on the same property that I live on. She lives in the trailer that is about 100 feet away from my yurt. I also met her in the Burning Man scene. So, this is an advertisement for maybe finding weird partners in that space. She and I have been dating, I want to say, like, over 2 years at this point. And, that relationship has been going very well. We're basically in the same bubble for COVID. So there's not usually any restrictions on when we see each other or how we interact. There are times where one of us does something riskier outside the bubble when we might, quarantine from each other for a little while. And that relationship has gone really well. She was someone I knew before she moved onto this property, and it seemed like maybe there was some mutual attraction, but we had not pursued that at all when she moved. And the last thing I wanted to do was to be like the creepy neighbor who's like into you and hasn't said anything, So, right. We were very respectful of each other's space for quite a while after she moved onto the property. But we eventually figured out that we were interested, and it turned out to be a really good choice. So, and of course, one of the major characteristics that's necessary to date me is you have to be willing to put up with someone who lives in the yard.
Right on.
And I guess one last little coda I'll put on there is that she has 2 cats that are now indoor-outdoor cats. So basically, and I have a pretty severe cat allergy. Ooh. Like, I can go over to her place for short periods of time, but if I breathe that air for more than about 5 minutes, then, it's going to affect me in a negative way. I might want a neti pot or take a shower or something. So basically, like, almost the entire whole of our relationship has happened in my little 12-foot yard.
What else we got? We got, here, I'll give you the screen back. How do we do that? So just do that. Here you go.
Let's see.
So, good idea with the jacks. You're on the Blackland clay. That shifts with the drought, right? Asks Paul.
I believe that's the part of the property that we're on actually has a couple different biomes of local clay on it, but I think that's where the yurt is. That hill has quite a bit of topsoil on it, but I think it was pretty clayey when I dug all the way down to the bottom. And I agree with whoever said, like, they're talking about building a platform, that you would want to use bigger timbers. If you want to make something that's not going to move, you would basically follow the same directions that you would for building a platform for like a porch. Like an outdoor porch.
That was Paul who said he'd build on 2x6s.
Yeah. Well, and Paul is local, so we could kibitz about that. Yurts are actually extremely easy to build. Like, if you want to, like, I was very interested in sort of the tiny house movement and permaculture and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that got me into all that originally was just not wanting to have a mortgage. And I really like tiny houses. I like the fact that they've really moved the Overton window quite a bit as far as like people living in small sustainable places, because they've been popularized, and sometimes they have gotten code changes to happen to enable other type small things to work. But a yurt is really one of the like best full-time living spaces that you can make cheaply, even if what you want to do is live in it while you're building your quote real house. They're very easy to make. They're very cheap to make. They don't require any special skills, and people live in them in all kinds of extreme climates like Alaska, stuff like that. So they're quite practical.
So Les asks, and I know the answer to this one, but maybe you'll want to explain. Scott, have you moved around in the yurt, or do you stay in one neighborhood?
Okay, so originally the reason I made the yurt, besides the fact that I just wanted a yurt, was because I had a girlfriend who had like a partner that I'd been with for like 3 or 4 years, and she moved to the West Coast. And we were having some pretty stereotypical long distance relationship issues And so when I went to go visit her, I wanted a place to stay where I wouldn't have to be in her space all the time.
Right.
And so that was one of the, it's hard for me to stay focused on anything long enough to get it done. But me mooning over her was part of the reason that this project came together, because it was something that kept me focused long enough to like get it together. And I designed it originally to fit in my tiny Geo Metro. I took the passenger seat out of the Metro, and when the yurt was rolled up, it extended from the front firewall near the engine all the way to the back of the hatchback. And you had to like sit on the hatchback a little bit to get it to close. But when I was picking out my yurt dimensions, I specifically designed it to fit in that space. And so this yurt has been on the road to Portland twice. And then it's had some other trips. Like I originally built a lot of it at my mom's place, which is up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I also had it set up at my partner Abigail, the one that I've been with for 12 years. I've had it set up at her place for a couple weeks at one point when I was living there long term. So it was designed to be portable. It still is portable, but at a certain point when I really liked living in it, I decided that I was going to make this my full-time house. And since then, it's been like slowly accreting things that would make it a little bit harder to move. And I'm still, like, for me, it's just a good idea to have a backup plan if I needed to move out of this property for some reason, like if they sold it or something.
Right.
And so I would estimate that even with all the junk I have in it, which is a lot, I could move the entire thing with my van in probably like 2 days. And the structure itself only takes about 30 minutes to set up if you have help. If you have longer, then if you don't have help, it takes longer because you have to figure out how to float the roof ring with a ladder, et cetera, et cetera. So the answer is that it's still fully portable, but I don't have any intention to move it in the near future.
All right, and then the next one from Les. Genghis Khan was also polyamorous. Was he your inspiration?
No. Yeah, Genghis Khan's level of DNA spread is evidently, I guess, the largest in recorded human history.
Legendary, yes.
Yeah, and whatever else you want to throw on top of that, there's some part of me that's like mildly in awe of that, but it obviously was done in the most like murderous and rapey way possible.
Yep.
So I definitely don't approve. I don't approve of those things. I kind of fell in love with yurts as a structure at some point. I used to they have things called hexa-yurts, and they're very unnatural and unromantic, but they're made out of that same foam insulation, but the foam insulation that has the radiant barrier on one side. So, it's like polycyanurate, I'm getting the name wrong, but like the foam that's like, monolithic. But you can use that to build these structures that were originally designed for disaster areas, for temporary housing. And I built a couple of those to take with me to Burning Man, because at Burning Man, they're like hell on wheels. They're super well insulated. They're cheap. They're easy to build. They're easy to make resistant to the winds. They're warm at night, and they're cool in the daytime. And that's kind of what got me into it. But then I actually got to see like a couple real ones, and it's just something about like the round space and the hole in the roof that just really feels good to me. And at that point, I was kind of doomed to eventually build my own.
Doomed. All right, let's see. There. So where are you working in your image right now?
I'm just about to do some work on the thing on the Mac.
The what?
The logs on her back.
Oh, right.
Log. Yeah. I've been talking more than drawing, but there's this thing that happens when you do vector if you're not careful as you go. Since every single stroke is a separate object and they're all on the same level, if you don't organize as you go, then you have this like massive like slew of objects. And you can certainly do like, various kinds of selection and stuff to try to narrow it down, but that's definitely one of the challenges of drawing this way. When I did Inktober 2 years ago, which was the second time I had done it, I did everything in vector with like a very simple vector drawing program.
Do you remember the name of the program?
I was channeling more of. I think it was called InkPad. It was on Android. There are several different like open source vector drawing sort of libraries, I guess, that are around that get made into drawing programs, and I'm pretty sure like that's where this one originally came from. But it was just basically like solid line width, like non-variable line width, so all the same width on your lines, solid colors, and then some very, very basic gradient support, like basically like circular and linear gradients, and that was it. So like no variable line width, no stroking, no ability. You could bring in like a picture to use as to trace or whatever, but like it didn't have any raster features, any Photoshop type stuff. But it was really good. What I was going for that year was kind of getting the essentials down, and contrary to what you're seeing now, it worked at the time. But I'm kind of out of the rhythm of like drawing that way at this point, so. I'm amused at like sort of how meta the whole situation is. It's like we got multiple conversations on multiple mediums with multiple drawings, and we're all experiencing them at different time offsets, as though we were like fighting at like faster than light speeds or something.
Right.
Camo, did you ever read any of the? I'm trying to remember. It was like, I think Emi Mojaset was the guy's name.
Who?
He did like Towers of the Sunset, but he did some science fiction stuff. The one was called Adamantine. I'm trying to think of some other ones. The reason it comes to mind is because in Adamantine they had a thing where like they were doing like space combat with like missiles and stuff, and they were doing it at like semi-relativistic speeds. So that when they were fighting, they basically were dealing with this time offset and having to try to predict where things were going to be in the future and stuff. And it definitely was a difficult thing to coordinate.
No, I'm not familiar with it.
I can also see that this whole process here, like there's a certain skill to like juggling all this. For instance, actually continuing to draw while you're
answering questions. Yes.
Yeah.
That can be an issue.
That's okay. I was basically on for doing some drawing stuff and shooting the shit, and that's what we have happening. So.
Yes.
And I am certainly kind of capable of talking all day long.
Alrighty. So I've got some tangent action going on here, which I need to change.
So, do you use any of the vector features?
I'm about to start. I'm going to put down an ink layer here in a minute.
Okay.
So what I
Yeah.
Can you see? You wouldn't see it in real time. Let's see. Well, I'll just explain it as I go. You know, when you make a new layer,
Yeah.
you have the choice of making it a vector layer or a raster layer.
Mm-hmm.
So right now I'm selecting new. No, not new document. Come on. Layer. There we are. New layer, vector layer. All right, and I'm going to call it ink. And put it above the sketch layer. Come on. There we go. And now I like to turn down the other layers.
Mm-hmm. Get some translucency going on so you can see what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, you know, for inking, you don't really need to. I mean, traditionally, the inker is inking over somebody else's pencils, and they're just doing it physically on the page.
Right.
So we don't really do that anymore. At least, no, not digitally. And even when an inker is working on paper, I think they're working from a photocopy on good paper these days. Let's see. Okay.
Yeah, it is really amazing that we live in a universe where you can do any combination, and like Inktober was a lot of fun this year. It was very stressful, but like, you know, not knowing for each drawing whether I was going to do it by hand or digitally, and then having to figure out how to like, it's like, okay, like the last drawing I did was a physical drawing, or maybe the last one I did was digital. My new one is physical. But I also have this thing where like I'm flowing through from one frame to the other, which means I got to match up the old frame, the right edge of the old frame, to the left edge of the new frame. How do I do that when one is paper and when one is digital, right? And those kind of problems just kept popping up throughout the whole thing. And actually, the best final results that I got, as far as the quality of the drawing, and also the ones that were most convincingly faked, where they looked like they were done with physical media, but they were digital, were done with Tayasui sketches.
With what?
There's an app called Sketches, and it's Tayasui is the company that puts it out. It's only available for iPad, although they are working on a version for other platforms. But of the apps that I have used, and I have used many apps, it is absolutely the best one at faking real media. It has a whole bunch of the standard tools: pens, pencils, brushes, acrylic, watercolor, smudging, all that kind of stuff. They've done a really great job of capturing the feel. So like when you draw with a pencil on the page, like it scratches, like it actually makes a noise. They do paper textures really well. But it really feels like you're sitting at a drawing table with a scattering of like tools in front of you, and you're just grabbing things and picking them up and putting them down. But it also has like layer support. It has like layer mode support. But it's pretty spare on the advanced features. Like you can do like a little bit of cut and paste, but like you can scale, but you can't scale like asymmetrically. You can't do like fat but not tall. But it really like, and it also has like half toning and a bunch of other sort of print related, fill features and things. But it's really like, if what you wanted, like if you wanted to learn how to use real media, but you didn't have access to them, if you use that program for like 3 months, you would be so much faster picking up the real thing than someone who just started with like a pencil and a paper. But it has no vector features, so.
Sounds a lot like Procreate. That's pretty much a description of Procreate.
It has an overlap with Procreate. Procreate is basically a much more professional, like high-end digital painting program. It has a lot more features and it's a lot more powerful, but it's not nearly as convincing as like an analog for fake, like for real media as Sketches is. Sketches is also, unfortunately, like just buggy enough to be annoying. Now that will improve once I develop a closer personal relationship with the coder. which will be happening at some point, whether he likes it or not. But I've also been a professional software maker and tester, so it's having me using your software is actually kind of a dream, because like I'm really good at writing bug reports and stuff, and I can help you make it better. But it might also be stressful, because sometimes I won't shut up about wanting things to be fixed.
I have abandoned the chat again. I will catch up here in a sec. Let's see. Oh, we haven't missed a lot. The Burning Man Festival was canceled for the first time this year, says Ed. I would point out, Ed's been to Burning Man, by the way. I would point out that there is no objective central fixed time, which other experiences of time may be said to be offset against. I'll read that again. I would point out that there is no objective central fixed time, which other experiences of time may be said to be offset against. That's an implication of Einstein's theory of special relativity, and it took me a while to wrap my head around it, says Ed. Les says Einstein's theory of special relativity suggests that his own theory actually is not true. If it's true, it's false, and if it's false, it's true. That's the best way I understand it. Might be wrong, but right. All right. I have nothing to contribute to any of those observations. Let's see. Oops. Oh, what the heck is that? There we go. Yes, people hear my exclamations, but because the video is so out of sync from the audio, they don't know what I'm cursing myself for.
Right. That's good to keep in mind. One Inktober-like artifact of this experience is that I knew I would be very bad at it to begin with, and that the embarrassment and humiliation would drive faster progress.
Well, it's early days here in the stream, so there's not many witnesses.
Good reason to tune in now.
I see what's going on. I'm using a marker. I'm not using the tapered pen. Ugh!
Aha!
I'm killing myself. All right.
So I'm assuming with the vector setup on Clip Studio Paint that you can basically restroke something.
Oh my goodness!
Like with a different brush.
Oh, I don't know about that, but I have a Clip Studio TabMate, which is a little remote control I hold in my left hand. It's got a bunch of different programmable buttons on it. And
interesting.
Yeah, so mostly I have my thumb on this center Q button, which is just the space bar so I can drag the image around. But then the one just above that is Control Z, and man, do I hit that thing a lot.
Oh, yes. Yes, definitely. No, it's really interesting that they have their own, like, proprietary interface thing there for drawing.
Yeah, and I had to choose between the Clip Studio Paint one, which only works with Clip Studio Paint, or a little handheld remote control made by Wacom, for the Cintiq. And I went with the Clip Studio Paint specific one, just because the ergonomics looked better, and because I knew I'd be spending most of my time in Clip Studio Paint.
The universe of art devices like tablets and styli and all that kind of stuff is completely nuts as far as compatibility goes. And one of the reasons that I ended up on Affinity Designer had to do with the fact that like especially in the iOS world, which of course everything works with the pencil because otherwise you don't get to put your stuff on Apple. But trying to figure out like what other styluses and other devices like you're talking about work with which programs, it's not just like this program supports it. It's like this program supports it on this OS on this device.
Yeah.
And so trying to figure out if all of the things that you want are all going to work together is a huge pain. And so, picking something that was proprietary to the program you were using is probably a good idea, because then at least it's going to work with that.
So I've just realized I've given her eyeballs, but the Krampus that I'm copying here doesn't have eyeballs. So I will leave them for the time being and maybe remove them later. We'll see.
Okay. Yeah, this is basically just at this point, it's just kind of an exercise in like very bad slavishly copying the original. Like if I keep going long enough, some approximation of something you might call my style might creep into it, but I don't think we're going to go there on this call.
This definitely looks like one of my drawings.
Yes, it does. But when I come out of this, having had the experience, I'll be able to think about it more and decide what might be good to do differently next time. So.
Hey, 412. Time for the 7th inning stretch. So
let's see. We're going until
5.
Another 45 minutes. Is that the end of the event?
Yes.
Okay. I will scale my flailing accordingly. But for me, this is the exercise. Like there's lots of other things I need to do to become a better artist, but the single biggest one is like hurry up and get moving. You have time.
Oh, it's getting dark here. I'm very far north.
I was glad to hear that you don't hate Star Trek Discovery as much anymore.
Yeah, this 3rd season, now that they've jumped out of the established timeline, they're not rewriting history anymore, I'm okay with it. And I'm perfectly okay with Michael Burnham's hyper-emotionality now. I think they've completely abandoned the idea that she's Spock's half-sister and that she was raised in a Vulcan household. She's just all huggy and weepy But, now...
Yeah.
Now I'm okay with it. And I really like Saru. I think he's a great character. I think Doug Jones portrays him well. He's really well designed.
Agreed. Yeah, I really like Saru a lot. What is happening?
Oh, well. All right, let's see. Les says, yes, but the internet is sort of like Las Vegas. What happens on the internet forever stays on the internet. Sort of the opposite of Las Vegas, though. You know, Las Vegas is promising
Yes.
anonymity and deniability, and the internet gives you the exact opposite.
Yes. You know, the right to be forgotten seems to be one of the places that Europe is ahead of us with some of this internet privacy stuff.
KMO, you should start inviting more professional artists and have a friendly drawing competition of sorts and do the chat thing. Well, we have clearly not worked out the technical implementation of that. So thanks to Scott for being so flexible and having so many different applications open at once. Each artist could chat and show off their skills. What would be our role, Les?
Sure.
Asks Ed. Yeah, maybe in the fullness of time. I would like to, have live streams with other artists, but maybe somebody's already cracked this nut. I imagine they have. I'll have to research it more.
Yeah, I think so too. I've been wanting to watch more. Like I've actually watched surprisingly few other artists' live streams, and especially with stuff like Procreate, like that's really an excellent way to get better because you can see professional artists, in the moment.
Yeah, you can see what they can actually achieve with it.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of techniques, and just because there's a million ways to accomplish any given thing. But the professional artists are the ones who know how to do it faster and more effectively. And I just have not availed myself of that extremely valuable resource. It's one advantage of like being on this normally, is I can see more about how you're doing things too. But right now I'm too distracted. So, although that is also one of the benefits of our Come Draw event, is that Martin Whitmore is one of the main organizing people behind it, and he's been a professional illustrator for a very long time. And so we've picked up all my style, which is not really much in evidence, the way that I'm drawing right now. To the degree that I have one, is largely a derivative of his, because we've just been drawing together for so long, and I've seen like how he does his stuff. But yeah, I'm also definitely open to whatever feedback as far as how to make the experience better.
All right. The question is, do I bother with rulers on the candy cane, or I just freehand it? We'll see.
Well, so when you were doing a vector thing, can you not adjust it afterward?
Yeah. Here, you can see what I'm doing right now, right?
Okay, yeah. Let me pay attention here.
Well, actually, you'll see what I was doing a bit ago. Tell me when you've seen a fingernail being inked in here.
Okay, hang on. Let's see. Actually, on my YouTube thing, I'm seeing my drawing, but not yours.
Okay, so would you stop sharing
Yes. Hang on.
and make me the host again?
Okay, let's see. Where did Zoom go? Okay, so I stopped the screen share.
All right.
And let's see. Participants. Camo. Make host.
Yes.
Okay. So you are now the host.
All right. What are you seeing in the live stream? Here, I'll pop over to live stream. I can do that just as well.
I can see. I just saw you get up and walk away and turn a light on.
Oh goodness!
On the live stream.
That was like a couple minutes ago. All right.
Well, I mean, if the delay is too long just because of my pipe, we could look at it at some point later.
Okay. Well, I'm looking at the YouTube stream, and it looks like it's pretty much caught up. So
I wonder. Let me try hitting refresh and seeing what happens.
All right.
There's another network that I could try that is conceivably like it's both higher bandwidth but also less reliable than this one. Okay, I can definitely see your drawing thing now after refreshing.
All right. So I've just drawn a line to represent the back of her hand. So here's a couple cool things you can do. You can adjust the width of the line that you've just drawn, or any line, really. So I'm going to narrow this one. See that?
Okay. It's delayed, but I just saw the drawing of the back of the hand, and now it looks like you're doing the narrowing of the line.
Yeah. Or I can redraw the vector line.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was saying, calling restroking.
Yeah. Or I can select the control point. And look at all these points on here. It's a crazy amount of points, so I can simplify the vector line.
Mm-hmm.
And now, go back to the control point. We've got a lot fewer of them. Too few at this point.
That is a feature that there is a smooth feature on Affinity Designer, but it does not have a simplify, and that is a feature that I really wish it had. Because, like, I don't draw with the pen because the pen feels too much like sculpting and not enough like drawing.
Mm-hmm.
So I usually use the pencil, but the pencil poops out way too many points. And it would be really nice to be able to like just do the pencil and then immediately hit simplify and have 3/4 of them go away.
So here's another super cool thing.
Yeah.
So now if I'm in the vector mode, I grab the eraser. I can just do one stroke there, and boom! Look at that.
Okay, hang on, I'm waiting.
Yeah. It's coming. So I'm going to draw just like a hash mark.
Oh, it does the club thing. I remember being really excited about this feature when I played with it.
Yeah.
That is really, really great that it has that clipping feature.
Yeah.
I don't think Affinity Designer has a similar feature, but I'm not sure because that's one I have not looked into as much. But it would be super cool to be able to like pick out the little bits. I remember being really impressed with the algorithm. Like it got what I wanted about 98% of the time, which is pretty impressive for something like that. So one of the things that provokes that question originally is you were talking about whether to use the ruler to draw the back of the candy cane, but I thought if it was vector, you could probably just use 2 control points, right? And then you wouldn't have to worry about whether it was smooth or not. Like it would just be straight by virtue of the fact that there's only 2 points.
Yeah, I don't want to actually draw like there's a straight line tool. I could just do something like that. I mean that one's way too fat. Let's take it down quite a bit, like to there. I could just do that, but it's uniform. It's stiff. So
right.
A better thing to do is to lay down a ruler.
Uh-huh.
And then grab the pen and draw it in. Well, that's not the pen. That's still the ruler. There we go. Pen. What is happening? Select.
What is happening
There
to
we
my
go.
world?
So then as I'm drawing with the pen, I can vary the pressure.
Right.
So it looks more like a naturally drawn line.
Yeah. That is a technique that I use frequently with, because Taya Studio Sketches has a very good set of rulers. You know, it's got the flat ruler, it's got the round ruler, and it can do that thing where basically like it anchors to the edge of the ruler, so you can get all the pressure effects with your pen or your pencil or whatever, but it confines to that line that you want. You could also just use the line tool and then go back and micromanage the stuff, but that's the seductive danger of vector, is like, oh, I can fix everything in post. I could just throw 20 random shapes on the screen and eventually it will be the Mona Lisa, but then 4 hours later you're still nitpicking, pickling individual points.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you for showing me that. That's cool. I'm going to give Clip Studio Paint another try. I'm too broke right now. I think the iPad version, I think you have to have a subscription to be able to use it.
Yeah, actually, I did get it for the
have...
iPad briefly, and it was a subscription model.
Yeah. And right now, that's definitely like, I'm unwilling to give up the iPad as my main creative device. What I really want is a bigger iPad. My partner Danielle, that I mentioned earlier, she just got one of the Huion ripoffs of the Wacom drawing monitors.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really nice. It's like 2 feet across, so it's enormous, but you can draw directly on the surface, and that's pretty amazing. Because she was basically just using like the Wacom tablet on the screen before that, and you can certainly get used to that, but it's not nearly as intuitive as drawing on the surface that you're actually like looking at. And other than the standard kind of Chinese stuff isn't as compatible problem that people run into sometimes, it's been pretty great.
Well, I like Huion a lot. I like their products.
What have you used of their products?
I've used like what you're describing, the standard tablet where you're looking, your hands drawing on the tablet, but you have to look at the screen.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a Huion version of one of those.
Yeah, there are so many different ways to do it, but like for me, it's really important to be able to get moving quickly and have it be portable, and so the tablet is definitely the killer app. But then, from a professional perspective, and I'm not doing professional illustration work yet, but it's definitely going to be part of what I'm doing. Like I always want to have a backup for my whole chain. So I have a Wacom tablet, and I have the same software on my computer, and I've cross-trained with various apps. So like if one app has crapped out for some reason, then I can switch over to another one in an emergency and like finish something.
I'd be pretty screwed without Clip Studio Paint, but I have it on multiple devices.
Yeah, well, I was looking for something I could standardize on across multiple devices. Affinity also works on. They have a version for Mac and for PC. So if I needed to have it everywhere, like I have an older version of Affinity Designer on my Windows installation, but I don't use that very often because I have to reboot into Windows to do it. Which I'm occasionally willing to do, like, but I can't say Mac. My Mac is also like a 2012, so it's kind of shocking like how well it still works. I don't really feel the need to get a new computer, but it's not very good for playing games.
Yeah, gaming is typically the reason to get your computer equipment upgraded.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I used to build my own systems back, like in the late 90s and early aughts. Like I was building everything from scratch and always, making the mistake of going to the friend's house that had the new graphics card and realizing I could never play Quake again on my own system without $300 of upgrades. I have definitely been that person, but not for quite a long time. All right, I will be right back.
All right. I will be here. Oh, I should check the chat. Let's see what we got. So Les, are you a visual artist? You say Ed says, what would be our role, Les? You say, to get to the point that KMO starts inviting really famous artists, I can be invited on as a famous artist in quotations. I wouldn't show my face, of course, and I'd be Japanese. I already have the name Hirokone. Hirokone. And then I'd be famous because KMO said so. Wow. Yeah. My say so and $2 will get you a cup of coffee. And the tab mate does not work to scroll the chat. Ed says, can I be the helper guy? Like how Joe Rogan has Jamie who Googles things to supplement the conversation. You are more than welcome to play that role, Ed, starting right now. In fact, you already did earlier today. Ed, yes, you'd always have to give us a word of the day. I can do that, says Ed. Les says, and have Jadzia on once in a while as a guest. Ed says, this can be arranged. Ed says, today's word of the day is Lagniapi. You should also be the technical guy. I definitely need the technical guy more than I need the word of the day guy. You seem to have the hang of tech. Weren't the Lagniapi an Indian tribe? Ed says, that would imbue my life with a sense of purpose. Les says, but you don't even have to try. Like half of English words are derived from French. Cheapo. Lagniapi came to the English from Quebecois. Or Quechua. Quechua. It's Quechua, isn't it? Didn't know that, says Les. I was thinking of Lenape or Lenape. I don't know. Don't know how to pronounce French. Did you know that Kaliningrad is an enclave of Russia? Boy, I don't know what you guys are talking about now. All right. Back to inking. Been a while since I've looked at the source material. Oh, wow, I'm not even close. Huh. All right. So this drawing the chain is going to be a pain.
Okay, so I'm at least back on audio here.
Oh, let me get you back on... let's see. What do we do? I'm just staring at all these little icons in the tray. Zoom
Yes,
call.
it's a lot of icons.
And oops. All right, you are once again the host. You may screen share.
Okay, thank you. Let's see.
Oh, except I have to have the. There we are. Are you sharing? There you go.
Just
Oh, now it's full screen. Awesome.
Okay, let's see.
Ah.
And we're here and here. All right, this isn't any less embarrassing than when I left.
Was I supposed to be working on it?
On mine? No, I don't think so. That would be
creepy. Did you assign an elf?
Let's see. So are you able to see my screen now?
Yeah, and it's full screen. It wasn't before, but it is now.
Oh yeah, I see. Okay, cool. Yeah, Zoom has many mysteries, and it's also, I think, changing pretty fast, since everybody's entire existence only happens on it now. There's a really good Seth Godin riff about Zoom, and basically how, Zoom has the power to change things at the same fundamental level that radio and television did when they first came along, if it is used correctly. And it's pretty compelling. Like the case he makes is pretty compelling.
I wonder how many instances of plastic surgery are motivated by our daily Zoom interactions now. I'm just, the camera is on the Surface Pro, but I'm looking over here at the Cintiq, so I'm in profile the whole time, and now I glance down and I see, my middle-aged man stuff on the neck and jaw.
Yeah, it's definitely...
pull that stuff up.
It's like a full-time job to figure out how not to look like some kind of like mutant.
Yep.
Online. And
now you're coloring as you go. I haven't even started with color.
Well, one of the reasons I'm doing that is because I'm just trying to differentiate all of my scribbles enough. Like I kind of basically did like a very quick outline of everything, and now I'm just trying to get everything colored enough to where to make sure that things are like stacked in the right order. And I'm only now just getting to a point where like I'm starting to actually pay attention to like how close the shapes are and all that kind of stuff. So now hopefully what that means is that there will be a drastic improvement at some point in the near future.
I've largely come to the realization and almost made peace with the notion that I can draw about as well as I'm going to be able to. At this point, it's really just a matter of learning new programs, but my artistic abilities are, I don't want to say they're, carved in stone, but they're largely locked in, including, the things that I do poorly.
Well, you felt like you kind of plateaued then as far as...
Oh, like long since, yeah.
Yeah, I'm still at the point where like I just don't do it nearly as often. And so when I do focus on it for any length of time, I see like very quick and drastic improvement, which is, very, very heartening.
So I'll be interested to see what you do with her nose, because her nose is looking pretty brutal right now.
It is really bad. Yeah, that's definitely one of the... I've almost got... Yeah, so what things do you have the most trouble with when you're...
Architectural stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Backgrounds in general. I mean, I like to draw the characters. I'm I don't much care for drawing the background. So
Right. Yeah, that's, it's one of those things where like you really doing it when you don't want to really makes you appreciate people who are good at it.
Yes.
I know that there's like, like in the Asian like production industry for cell shading and stuff like that, the background artists are like bassists, they're like a dime a dozen and they get no respect. And, but it's amazing, when someone's really good at that, it's amazing what they can bring to the table.
Let's see. I'm going to pop over to Twitter and not read a damn thing there. I'm just going to post the time-lapse drawing I did of the warm-up.
Okay. Let's see, can I do this? Duplicate. Okay, I'm making a duplicate of the drawing so I can come back and see how bad it was earlier. Yeah, I definitely would like to have, like a larger iPad Pro. The extra screen realistic would really help a lot.
Yeah. There we go. Uh-huh. So here's I said I wasn't going to read anything, but this is from JP of Egotastic Fun Time. He's put up a poll. Where would you most like to visit on the Orville? Bortus Camping Rendezvous, Bortus Dentist Office, Bortus Daddy Dungeon, Bortus Group Hang Lagoon.
I miss Bortus, man.
This is the the one where he had the holodeck porn addiction.
Uh-huh.
So each of these was a scenario that we saw that he was into. So there was a camping rendezvous, dentist office, daddy dungeon, and the sensual lagoon.
With the dentist's office clearly being the weirdest and most perverted of those choices.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I was super happily surprised at how great the Orville was, and like the show itself is really good, and then Bortus just takes it over the top. Like he's.
Yeah.
I changed my Facebook profile to be a picture of him for quite a while.
Now, unfortunately, there was no overlap between the Bortus gets addicted to cigarettes episode and the Bortus grows a mustache episode, because those two really needed to go together.
Oh yeah, they were. Yes, yeah. The mustache one was the one that motivated me to go for to make my Facebook icon. Like I got a picture of him with his mustache. That was my new icon. Well, it seems like we seem to be on. I hate to even say it, but we seem to be on a little bit of an upswing here with our science fiction franchises. Like they're not quite the nightmare that they were there for a while.
Go easy now.
And
touch wood.
There seems to be
do not anger the gods.
Consistent movement in a positive direction.
Yes. And I mean, even Star Trek Discovery is getting good.
Yeah, I love both Star Wars and Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been a fan of both, and therefore I have gone through some fairly extreme psychological trauma in the past 20 years. So it's been very nice, to be able to say good things about them again, at least some of the time.
Oh, The Mandalorian's knocking it out of the park.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really enjoying it. They really. And I like the fact that I don't know, are we allowed to talk about spoilers?
Spoiler warning. There. We're clear.
Okay. Just like the fact that he's finding out more about his own religion from other people now.
Yeah, he's finding out. He didn't know that he was a member of a fringe fanatic cult before.
Yeah. That was a good moment. I had my girlfriend Danielle here. We were watching it, and I was kind of I was debating about how much to talk about, to tell her about the details, because I'm assuming they've implied they're basically going to flesh it out more in the show, and that would be the better way for her to find out. But I did my homework on the Mandalorian stuff when I heard the show was going to come out, and so I'm a lot more caught up than I used to be. And of course, they had a lot of that in the animated series as well.
What did you think of the final 4-episode arc of the Clone Wars? Was that not amazing?
I vaguely recall that it was, but it's been long enough since I've seen it that I.
Oh wow!
They
got Ray Park to come back in and do motion capture, for Darth Maul for that final lightsaber fight with Ahsoka. They just pulled out all the stops for that.
Yeah, I think I saw it, but the other thing I remember is that Clone Wars actually had some shows that came out relatively recently, right? For a final season,
this year.
A big gap between when they, and so the thing that is possible is that I may not have seen to the end.
Oh,
I remember at some point where I was waiting on the recent shows for new ones to come out, and I probably watched it all, but I'm not.
Huh. There were 3 arcs, and the first 2 are completely skippable, but the last 4 episodes is basically a movie unto itself, and it's amazing. And it takes place. I remember. It interpenetrates with Revenge of the Sith. So things are happening off screen that we get reference to. We know, during the course of these last 4 episodes, Anakin becomes Darth Vader, but off screen.
Yeah, I think I saw it. I think I did.
Well, if it didn't make much of an impression, you definitely need to see those last 4 episodes again. And they come to a little less than 2 hours total, so it's basically a movie.
I would be happy to go back and revisit it for sure, just to make sure. I kind of had too many overlapping Star Wars artifacts happening in my life at that point. And
all right, so I'm going to catch up on the chat here a bit. We're getting into diet, which of course is always a danger. Les says, tuning into KMO is more interesting than watching The Mandalorian. Each day is a new episode, each episode a new adventure, and then you have recurring guest stars joining for a new adventure. So we haven't had any recurring guests yet, but surely there will be. Okay, so I'm going to skip over Ed and Les and their one-upmanship and whatnot.
Maybe we need to make a tag for them.
Okay, here we are. Ed asks, have you ever tried vegetarian burgers? Les says, aren't McDonald's meat patties mostly soy? Ed says, I like Beyond Meat burgers, and Beyond Meat is capitalized, so I'm guessing that's a brand name. Les says, another fad being brainwashed down our throats. Eat meat. It's good for you, especially if you're a guy. And children and women of childbearing age need quality fat and protein for children to grow big brains. Ed says, why do you oppose everything good and support everything bad? Les says, nah, you just are like most people and interest yourself about fads and fashion. Ed says, "Are you saying that you don't have TikTok or Snapchat accounts?" Les says, "Some of it is interesting in theory, but progressivism is more harmful than good." You're being facetious now, aren't you? But even zombies wouldn't be interested, and morons were too stupid to use them, so worse. Okay, now I think I have missed something. Some part of the chat did not transfer. So now I'm going over to YouTube to look at the chat.
You're balancing a lot of plates there, Camo.
Yeah. There's a lot of broken ones at my feet. So.
Oops.
Huh. So apparently some of your messages are held for review, Les. Like the TikTok and Snapchat are for zombie morons. That comment, YouTube has taken upon itself to withhold. So I have to decide whether to hide it or show it. So I'll say show.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Just what you need, more hosting duties.
Oh, well, I certainly won't be doing this normally. Okay. So, yeah, Les, basically, when you say something that the YouTube algorithm thinks is beyond the pale, it just holds it back, and I don't see it over here on Restream. But I might just give up the Restream chat going forward, because nobody is contributing chat from Discord or the other place. Oh boy, I can't even bring it to mind. I'm streaming on one other platform, and I can't even bring the name to mind. Picarto, that's it. All right. Oh, you're into shading now. And individual eyelashes, something I didn't bother with.
Ugh.
Although the original has individual eyelashes and lots of them.
Yeah.
No, I'm definitely a fuse them all into one thick line kind of guy.
Yeah. I'm trying to get like the pressure sensitivity to work to my advantage here, but again, the real time aspect is what's throwing me. Okay, that's better.
There you go.
Yeah, it's working better. Yeah, there's that beautiful synergy, somewhere in between raster and vector, where like you can get the sweet stuff of both, but it's definitely quite a task to like really get that humming, and I am nowhere near it.
So Clip Studio Paint's a lot like Photoshop in that it does a whole bunch of stuff that I'm clueless about. I have my few little tricks that I know how to do, and then I just basically draw and ink with it.
Right. Well, Photoshop in particular is like, it's like there are some apps where like there's a lot of features that most people don't use, but like I don't really believe that like there's anyone at Adobe that actually knows everything that Photoshop can do. It's ridiculous how powerful and comprehensive it is.
Well, there's one guy, but he never showers, and he doesn't really do eye contact, and nobody will talk to him.
Yeah.
But he knows every feature of Photoshop.
I definitely have been that guy. Have you punished yourself by playing with the GIMP at all?
I have not.
Yeah, it's definitely like when you are, if what you want to do is Photoshop stuff open source, like it's shockingly comprehensive, but it has that super wonderful like Linuxy open source interface thing where it's just like really hard to get into it, basically. Like it's just very difficult to ramp up. You know, you do something like, all I want to do is take this, I want to copy a little piece of this and paste it over there, and like it's floating and like it's not doing what you want, and you can't flatten the image, and then you just get angry and go do something else.
You just launch Photoshop.
Right. But I didn't have Photoshop, and so like one of the things that I really wanted to do this time around is that at the end of each week, I made these little video flybys. Because since my pieces for Inktober go together, it's neat to see them scroll because you can see how each frame flows into the next one, right? Which you can't get. And also in Instagram, if you post a single, JPEG of the whole week, it's this little tiny skinny thing that you can't see and that you can't zoom in on. I spent a lot of time being very angry at Facebook for all of their arbitrary limits on their shit. But if you make it into this thing where you scroll through the week, it's easy to fit that into their like maximum 1.9 by 1 aspect ratio, But it's a pretty simple thing to do. It's like, I've got this comic strip, it's 7 frames long. All I want to do is take the camera and zoom from the beginning to the end. And that particular technical task took me like 2 weeks of pouring through all kinds of different programs and looking for apps to do it and not having the Adobe stuff that I know would be able to do it. And I finally ended up doing that in the GIMP.
All right.
Which is absolutely not the easiest or best way to do it. But it is the way I finally, after all of that crap, managed to get it done.
Well, we're down to the last couple of minutes here.
All right.
So my research project will be, how do you do a live stream drawing session with 2 artists in different locations?
And using different apps.
Using different apps.
Like, doing the thing on Aggie.io is a lot of fun, and it's very effective in certain ways. And it does support a full multi-layer Photoshop export, which is awesome. But it's also very limited, and it has its own problems and frustrations, and there is definitely a bit of a ramp up. It's much faster if you're dealing with someone else who's dealt with it before.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to try that, just ping me.
Okay.
I'll send you the link, and you can play with it yourself, because there's not any real difference between doing it by yourself and doing it with other people.
Right.
But as far as like having a single screen where multiple people are drawing at the same time, it works really well.
Right on. Les writes, I can see it now. They've compiled a profile on me, and the next time I say something they don't like about Facebook, TikTok, Biden, climate change, masks, etc., they'll burst in Minority Report style. Well, they won't wait for you to say it. They'll burst in just before you're going to say it. Right. Ed says, Kamo, if you make me a moderator, I will review Les's chats. Oh, okay. Can do.
There's the solution.
How do I do that? Let's see. Well, when I click on your name, I have 2 choices, block user or reply, so that's not it. How can I make you a moderator? How can I make you a moderator? Well, Ed, let me assign you a task. Research how I can do that. How can I make you a moderator?
Oops.
All right, it is 5 p.m. So you are welcome to keep working on this, but if you would, return control of the call to me.
I will do that. All right, well, this has been fun.
Yeah,
so
likewise.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, okay, let's see.
All right.
So I killed my screen broadcast, and going back into Zoom. Have you noticed recently that, like, there seems to be a conspiracy to make all icons look the same.
Have I? No, I have not noticed that.
Okay. It's particularly egregious with Google's stuff, but I just find myself like looking at all these little blue squares and. Okay, I believe I have made you the host again.
Yes, you have. Okay. So I'm going to hit end, but Scott, it was a pleasure.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you, KMO.
You're welcome.
See you soon.
Take care.
You too.
All right, end meeting for all. And now we'll end the stream, and Les and Ed, you may continue to bicker for as long as the chat lasts. Let's see.